Fox 11's Kelly Schlicht joins us now with the latest. Kelly?
Tom, Governor Scott Walker says this projected $977 million surplus shows his budget policies are working. Walker says he and the legislature have made tough and prudent decisions the past 3 years to curb government spending. Democratic State Senator Dave Hansen from Green Bay says the surplus is good, but the state should use some of the money to pay down its debt, besides issue tax cuts. And now the debate starts over what should be done with the extra money. In a statement, Walker said the additional revenue should be returned to taxpayers because it's their money, and my administration will work with the legislature to determine the most prudent course of action. But the legislators from Northeast Wisconsin have differing views on what to do with it. Tonight, we hear from both sides.
People love tax cuts, obviously, but I would hope that this tax cut wouldn't be heavily weighted to the rich again, and it would be more fairly distributed. That being said, I'd like to see more money going to public education.
To give you an example, one would be the telecommunications tax that was imposed during the Doyle administration that shows up on everybody's phone bill. That's something that does have a price tag associated with it, but it's not funds that should have really been taken to begin with.
The governor says he will have more details about possible income tax in his State of the State address next week. Tom? Langenfeld currently makes $190,000 a year, which is the highest paid school administrator in our area. Now, Wisconsin trends a little bit lower than the national average for administrator pay, so Langenfeld could be in for a pay increase if she lands the new job. Kelly Schlicht, Fox 11 News.
Fox 11's Kelly Schlicht has multiple views tonight on what's in that first ad and what it could mean for the race ahead.
Who's Mary Burke? Burke was a senior member of the Doyle administration.
This third-party ad from the Republican Governors Association targets Democratic candidate for governor Mary Burke. She's poised as the frontrunner to challenge Republican Governor Scott Walker if they both get their party's nomination this fall.
Investigations into Burke's department.
The ad, which goes after Burke's record as Commerce Secretary and the CEO of Trek Bicycles, was released Sunday. It was supposed to come out Wednesday of this week. The RGA says it was released early simply because it was finished early. Governor Walker told Fox 11 on Monday the early release really doesn't matter to him.
I don't run the ads, so it's up to them. We learned about them literally when you all did in the media, so I don't have any role in when they come out. Our campaign won't officially kick off until later in the spring after we get through the legislative session.
A spokesperson for the Burke campaign says the ads are full of half-truths.
The jobs claim was rated mostly false by PolitiFact. The budget claim, the budget that they're criticizing, Mary Burke left the Doyle administration more than 600 days before that budget became law. The audit that they reference covered time before Burke was Secretary of Commerce.
Political science professor Scott Furlong says he can't remember the clause coming out this early in the year for a governor's race.
Typically, you might wait till after the primaries were done before you would go after somebody. But it looks like at this point it's just going to be Mary Burke on the Democratic side. So they can spend that money, and my guess is they have the money to spend.
Furlong expects these early third-party ads, which means they don't come from the candidates' campaigns, could turn into a trend. Kelly Schlicht, Fox 11 News.
Live in HD, balanced news and severe weather coverage. This is Fox 11 News. Good Day, Wisconsin.
Green Bay authorities are still trying to find out why a car slammed into two homes on the city's west side.
And the search continues for a plane that disappeared on its way from Malaysia to China.
Good morning, I'm Kelly Schlicht. We finally topped the freezing mark yesterday. Will we see the same thing today? Doug joins us now. Doug, what can we expect for the weekend?
A little bit cooler, but it's nothing to really complain about because our weather looks terrific. We have temperatures right now in the lower 20s, even a few flurries flying in Appleton, but later in the day, everyone will see sunshine and our high hitting 27 degrees. Still not quite to our normal. Tomorrow's high a little bit warmer, 34 degrees. We'll see sunshine Monday all the way up to 40. Kelly?
Green Bay police are still trying to figure out this morning how a car crashed into two homes. It happened around 8:15 last night on the corner of West Mason Street and 16th Avenue. The car ended up on its roof. The driver was taken to the hospital. We don't have any more information on that person. At least one person had to leave their home. The Red Cross was called in to help out. Portions of West Mason were shut down while crews cleaned up the debris. The search continues for a passenger jet which disappeared over the waters between Malaysia and Vietnam. The Malaysia Airlines flight was headed from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, China. This is file video of the missing plane. Air traffic control says it lost contact with the flight about an hour after it left. 239 people were on board. Most of the passengers are from China. However, 3 are from the United States. Airline officials say they are doing everything they can to help find the plane.
Our focus now is to work with the emergency responders and the authorities and mobilize its full support. And our thoughts and prayers are with all affected passengers and crew and their family members.
Meanwhile, Chinese officials are asking family members to stay away from the airport in Beijing. Many were taken to a hotel to wait for more information on the flight. The U.S. has increased its presence as the crisis in Ukraine continues. A U.S. Navy destroyer is now in the Black Sea. The Pentagon says the deployment of the USS Truxtun is just routine. However, it comes as Russian forces get more aggressive in Crimea. A Ukrainian news agency reports Russians have placed a military base in the port of Sevastopol under siege. No shots have been fired. Ukrainian officials say they are worried about what will happen if fighting breaks out with Russia.
If the first fire starts, it will be very difficult for Ukraine to contest the Russian propaganda that we were not the first. And it will be open conflict, and it will be a bloodshed.
The tensions in the region stem from the recent overthrow of Ukraine's pro-Russian president. Opponents say Ukraine should align more with Europe. Russian officials say their forces moved into Ukraine to protect the ethnic Russian majority in Crimea. Employment rates look to be a big issue in the race for governor as you decide 2014. The expected nominees, Republican incumbent Scott Walker and Democrat Mary Burke, both released new ads. Each one tried to paint a different picture of where Wisconsin sits on the jobs front. Fox 11's Andrew Lacombe tried to clear up that picture and has balanced coverage.
When she was Commerce Secretary,
dueling campaign ads.
Walker's ad also notes since he's been governor, Wisconsin has added more than 100,000 private sector jobs. That's almost true. We checked the most recent state workforce development data for you, and it shows almost 95,000 private jobs added for all 3 years of Walker's term. The ad does not mention Walker's 2010 campaign pledge. That was to add 250,000 private sector jobs during his 4-year term. The sexual assault trial for an Army general is underway. Brigadier General Jeffrey Sinclair is believed to be the highest-ranking military officer ever to be put on trial for sexual assault. Sinclair's alleged victim took the stand yesterday. She claimed they had an affair for years. She said it included forced oral sex, and she said the 51-year-old threatened to kill her if she told anyone. Sinclair, who has pleaded guilty to lesser charges, could be sentenced to life in prison if he is found guilty. Did former Packers safety Darren Sharper really admit his guilt in a rape investigation? Newly released court documents show Darren Sharper acknowledged having non-consensual sex with 2 women. The documents don't say who he admitted it to. The documents relate to a sexual assault investigation in Louisiana. Sharper is also being investigated in California, Florida, Arizona, and Nevada. His lawyers deny all the accusations.